Hi, it's Jennifer Evans with Empowering Wellness Counseling Solutions. Today we're talking about the negative dynamic. So I talk a lot about the negative cycle within ourselves and how it kind of radiates out to others. But I want to talk more about this negative dynamic. A relationship is an interaction between two people. So whether it's a coworker, it's a boss, it's a significant other, a friend, a teacher. A relationship is an interaction between two people. And so this negative dynamic is the negative cycle between two people. So when we look at a relationship, we're looking at a Venn diagram. We each have our own circle, and then where the interaction is what is overlapping in those two circles. So picture a Venn diagram. And if those circles are cycles, then it only takes one person to go into a negative cycle to kick the relationship, the overlapping circle, into a negative cycle, and then implicitly force the other person into a negative cycle. And so we've talked about the Karpman drama triangle, and click on my next video, which will be transactional analysis, and I'll tell you more about transactional analysis. But these are two main features that I use in my counseling support and coaching support to help people understand their half of the dynamic when it comes to these negative interactions. And when we're looking at a relationship, we are 100% responsible for our half of the dynamic. We take 100% ownership of our circle and the cycles that we're in. We cannot take any responsibility of the other circle. Even though the circles overlap, we can only be responsible for our half, our circle. We cannot blame and shame and try to placate responsibilities for the other half, the other circle. So looking at that, we're wanting to see, what are we doing? Are we actually creating? Are we in a negative cycle, or are we being implicitly asked to be in a negative cycle? So somebody else creating the negative cycle in the relationship, and therefore we are starting to cycle in a negative cycle, or are we in the negative cycle and forcing the relationship into a negative cycle? So it's a little confusing, but you're looking at, what is your half? And so we've talked a lot about what our halves can be when it comes to the negative cycle. And what we'll talk about more is how we can be implicitly pushed into it, and then how do we stop it? Because the sadness and the beauty is, and this is life, this is chaos, for as much as chaos causes destruction and chaos creates these serendipitous, miraculous moments, we embrace it all because life is chaotic and we have no other choice. And so when we're looking at that negative cycle, we're seeing, that we can interject no matter what, whether somebody else is in their negative cycle and implicitly asking us to go negative, or we are in a negative cycle and we're implicitly asking somebody else. It does not matter. It's why we own our circle. Because as long as we interject and stop and ground in our circle, then it forces the relationship to go to a neutral. And it then forces and allows an opportunity for the other circle to go neutral or go positive. So when we're looking at negative dynamics and we're seeing, and it feels like, oh man, every time I talk to this person, they're so negative and I just get all worked up. And then like 6 hours later at night, I'm sitting there and I'm having all these stress streams and I'm like playing out these scenarios and I don't understand where it's coming from. Well, it's coming from people will project their negative energy on you. And you will absorb it and not even realize that you're absorbing it. And then all of a sudden you're like, what is going on? Why am I so angry? Why is it every time I have to hang out with these people that I get so anxious and I get so frustrated? Well, I'm getting frustrated and I'm getting anxious because there's a negative dynamic that is happening with that group of people or that person. And I am implicitly being asked to be a part of the negative dynamic when I don't want to, and it stresses me out, and it doesn't feed my values and my beliefs. So the more that I can ground, the more that I can stay in a grounded state, the more I am deflecting all of that negative energy. I go neutral, the relationship goes neutral. I can't control what the other circle does, but I know that I stay neutral, the relationship stays neutral, and hopefully it forces that person to go neutral or positive. But at the end of the day, I'm only responsible for my circle. I hope that's not confusing, and that does help. I do have success groups coming out. My third part in my 27-week success groups, broken down into 9-week sections, is going to be interpersonal skills. So we're going to dive into 9 weeks of talking about and exploring how we interact with others and how others interact with us, and how that creates positive experiences, how it creates neutral experiences, and how it feeds these negative dynamics where we're leaving and it's like we can't let go of that negative energy, and we don't even realize how much negative energy we have implicitly took on with those interactions. So I do ask that you go and you start looking at, like, when things are starting to turn negative and you feel like, man, like, Deborah Morgan on Dexter, man, as soon as I watch her, I love her. She's a good power character, but the F-bombs just roll and you can't stop it. It's like you see it so much, you just start to emulate it. And that's not a positive thing. It definitely doesn't help. It doesn't serve me. And, I have to watch when I watch that. But it's a clear example of when we start to get inundated with somebody and their negative energy and how they're projecting their negative energy, then we are influenced too. And so understanding that and connecting to and looking at, where am I at? Am I negative? Am I positive? Am I neutral? Where am I at? And when are the times that I'm going negative? Is that because of certain interactions? Is it because of certain experiences? When am I neutral? And when do I really go into a positive place where I have a lot of motivation? I'm starting to build really positive things. Like, what does it look like when I'm in all these spaces? And really look at what is your circle and how does that create the Venn diagrams when you're interacting with others. I'm Jennifer Evans with Empowering Wellness Counseling Solutions. Thank you for listening. I do have some other videos. I've got the Karpman drama triangle, so take a look at that. And I have transactional analysis, so it talks about various ways as well of people implicitly pulling you onto your negative cycle. So these are really great ways to learn more about interactions. Go to my website, Counseling Wellness Solutions, excuse me, I'm going too fast, .com to check out my groups. And again, I have a plethora of ways I want to help you. From the YouTube videos, from insightful messages on empowering our counseling wellness on Instagram to empowering wellness on Facebook, just providing some feedback, some personal disclosures and experiences of my adventures along the way and my kind of my insight that I have found that helps us to build towards a successful place. To my self-help book of Saying Goodbye to Bad Brain, I'm about to release some workbooks that will go through Life Worth Living. And then August 26th, I will be starting my 27-week group. It will be section 1, the first 9 weeks, which is looking at the life worth living. And so we're looking at success, how to set goals, visions for success. We're looking at accountability and vulnerability. We're looking at decision making and how to stay in an action-oriented, logical mindset and not get lost in these loops of negativity and emotional reaction. So there's a lot of good stuff. We're looking at physical health and financial health, a lot of ways for you to start building that framework and foundation for living a happier and healthier life. So if you like this, subscribe so you can get exclusive content. Hit the thumbs up button and tell me that you like it. And always comment below. Tell me what your goals are. Let me know. Are you more in the negative space, the neutral space, or the positive space? I'd love to help you work through that. Thank you so much.